Welcome back, my friends. We are continuing our journey. Today, I want to start talking about something I think is very important, the spoken word and the importance of the spoken word. In the Bible, we read, and God said, and so on and so on. And every time God said, He created something. So the importance, there are two things we're going to examine. Now, the one thing is I think the more obvious one, which I said is the spoken word. The second one, though, probably isn't as obvious. And I'll start by just asking the question, and then we'll move on and come back to it. When the Bible says, and God said, so what, God spoke in some language? Which language? Does it mean something else? What is it that is meant? When we read, and God said, what exactly are we talking about? Let's keep that in the back of our minds, and let's move on to the more obvious one, which has to do with the spoken word. And throughout the centuries, the spoken word was always very important. I think over the past few decades, a century, the importance of the spoken word has, at least in some civilizations, in some cultures, I should say, has lost its meaning, the spoken word has lost its importance, how important it is. I'm certain all of us have heard the saying, I gave my word. I gave my word. It was very important when you said something to keep it, to mean it, to do what you were saying. In a court of law, you take an oath. An oath is very important. And I would recommend on that one, just a bit of a parenthesis there, never take an oath if the oath is sacred. It ties you up energetically speaking. It's not something to take lightly. There is no need to take an oath. Okay? If there is no need, like, okay, where's the need to take an oath? Well, okay, you go to court. When you take an oath, well, some say, some have changed, and now you take an oath on the Bible, or you can take what's called a political oath. It doesn't matter. The implications are the same because you as a person took an oath. And energetically speaking, we are tied by this oath. So be very careful when you give a promise or an oath, which is a lot more serious. And we can see the importance of the spoken word. I mean, okay, we always tell the truth. Yeah, tell the truth. We always, we see it in all these manifestation and attraction techniques. You've got to say out loud, yeah, what you want, or you write it down. Now, you're writing it down, it may not be, technically speaking, talking, but aren't you talking it in your mind when you write it down? Of course you are. It's the same thing. Music therapy. Because what is, in the end of the day, you see, we have this preconceived idea of language having meaning, and it does. But above all, what is language? Sound. A certain frequency. Yeah? So every frequency has certain qualities. We know now, perhaps you know of that Japanese scientist who did the experiments with sound and words and water, and the results were extraordinary. Okay? Or perhaps you've heard of music therapy. We are using music to heal, especially psychoanalytical conditions. Yeah? Conditions, psychological, mental issues, and things like that, but also or health issues on the material body. And why wouldn't it be so? Because in the end of the day, what is matter than solidified energy, which translates into solidified frequency, if you think about it. So we use frequency to heal or to readjust a certain other frequency. I'm sure we've all seen in movies of the fantastic magicians and witches and things, and they all utter, yeah, all these words, and they make things happen. All right, so what do you think is happening here? What do you think is happening here? Some think that the power is in the words. Ultimately, it's in the frequency of the sounds. Yeah? In the frequency of the sounds. Now, in order, and what are they doing? They're manifesting, aren't they? So they're using the same sort of techniques that all these manifestation and attraction techniques have come around the last few decades. Of course, there are other things that have to be congruent. For example, our mental state, and above all, our emotional state. Because emotions and thoughts are also frequencies. And if they're not congruent in the first place, no matter what we say in terms of attraction and manifestation, it's not going to happen. So, as we can see, music, sound, why does music have such an effect on us? Have we thought about it? Why? Why does it, and it has a different effect, yeah? Different frequency, different rhythm, different effect. So you have its different effect when you hear the blues, it has a different effect when you hear rock, it has a different effect when you hear, and the phone's going off, when you hear classical music, okay? It creates different emotions within. Why? Because music as sound is a certain frequency, which affects our emotional self, which again is a certain frequency. It creates that frequency. So if music sound as frequency has a certain effect on us and creates certain emotions, what else can you create? Yes? So, I just want us to start opening our mind with these things. These things are very important. So, let's move on now. Let's move on. When we read, and God said, to go back to our first question, what is it that could be meant? Could it be meant that we are talking about certain frequencies, certain energies, thus creating? So certain frequencies, certain energies create. How many of us know that the archangels of creation, their names agree with their frequencies? For example, Archangel Michael, his name is Michael. Okay, Michael. This name is actually the frequency that this archangel emits, hence what we hear if we were to see this archangel. The archangel Gabriel, his name is actually Gavirel. Again, it is the frequency sound of this being that he emits. So everything is frequency, energy, sound on some level. So you can come to understand the importance of the spoken word in everyday life. When we say things like, and we don't realize it, okay? A lot of times we don't really just say things. Oh, I had a bad day. No. Oh, this is not gonna work. Well, guess what? And so on. You know, we are miserable. And so we talk things, we say things that express that misery. Well, guess what we're creating? A lot of the same. We're actually manifesting that moment, what we're saying. Why? Because we are congruent with our feelings and our state of mind. This is very important to change. And as you can see, it starts with changing our minds, our mental state, and our emotional state. What are all these things? These are all, as we said in the past, elementals, living, self-conscious entities that manifest themselves. Our job as human beings, if we only did this, our lives would improve 100-fold. Our purpose, the first thing that we should do, our duty to ourselves, I should say, is to cleanse ourselves from all these negative elementals of a certain frequency and energy. Transmute them, if we can, into positive ones. If they are too strong, cleanse them, put them through the sacred flame, and create new positive ones. We've given an exercise for this. If you go back in a different video, it's a video on introspection. This is how we put in practice all these teachings, all the things that we say. There's no usefulness in words, in teachings, if we don't put them into practice. Okay? So, I just remembered what Plato said. Very important. To name is to create. To name is to create. Again, remember, in the past, and I'm pretty sure in nowadays in certain cultures, the name of the child is very important. Okay? When you name a child, well, we better be very careful, because at that moment, we're giving that child certain qualities. The name is nothing to be, it's just a name. Doesn't matter. No, it's the most important thing. You just created a powerful elemental. Okay? So, I don't want to drag this too long. I think it is, again, to, recapture what we said. We have to be aware of what we say, of the spoken word. It is one of the most important things. And we have to be congruent when we want something positive, when we say something positive, to be on the same mental and emotional state. Remember, we are gods, or at least we are gods in the making. And if God said and created, so can we. Because why? because He created us in what? In His likeness. Okay? This is what it means when the Bible says, well, God created us in His likeness. Okay? This is what it means. One of the things. So let us beware of what we say. We need to be very conscious and very self-conscious. When I say self-conscious, I don't mean in this negative way. What I mean is just be aware, self-aware of what we say and what we think and what we feel. Because ultimately, they're all frequencies. Okay? So, in the next video, we're going to go in the New Testament, in the Gospel of John, and examine the very first line, in the beginning, there was the Word. Very similar to this video, and again, perhaps not. We're going to see a few more things and a few other misconceptions and perhaps definitely mistranslations that have occurred, thus resulting in confusion. Until next time, my friends, have a good one. Live good. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.